We live in a world where everyone is talking, but very few are truly listening. And sometimes the loudest noise is the one inside of us. So I do this thing called time with God. It's where I basically block off 7 minutes out of the 24 hours we have in a day for me to like sit still and spend time with God. I know 7 minutes may not seem like a lot to so many people, but one very important thing you should know in your spiritual journey is that it's for you and your Father in heaven. So you have no business comparing what you're doing spiritually with what someone else is doing. And also for me, I feel like it's never about like how much time you pray, how much time you spend reading the word, but you just want to make sure, even if it's for 1 minute, 2 minutes, it's highly impactful and you are super connected to the God you're talking to. I just decided to get into this habit because I feel like most times we pray to God and we feel like God doesn't answer our prayers. I think that usually happens when we forget or we fail to be in alignment with God. Now, sometimes we're praying for things and it's like we've not even bothered to get confirmation from God. We don't know if that is the same plan that God has from us. And most times, we as Christians, it's very easy for us to fall into the trap where our relationship with God comes all about us. It's just about us, our needs, where whenever we come to God, it's like, oh God, I need this, I need that. And I just really wanted an opportunity where I can really listen to God and we can be in alignment, we can be in agreement over lots of issues. I wanted, to give God the opportunity. It sounds funny saying it, but yeah, I really just wanted to give God an avenue to also speak to me, because prayer is supposed to be like communication between you and God. So if you're the only one speaking, you're not praying correctly. You have to be able to hear from God and God has to hear from you. So I just decided to do that. It's something I do. The goal is for me to just, sit still and try to listen to God. I use the word try because I had no idea how noisy, like normally, I think we all know how noisy the world is, like even outside in the streets, traffic, loud music. If you live in Lagos, the noise is times 2, because even at night, even noisy. Like I remember when I was going out for like evening walks, I would call my friends, while on those walks. But for everybody I called, they kept on complaining about how noisy it was. It's either cars are honking, and you guys, I'm just walking in my street, so not like I'm outside. I'm not seeing the major express. So like Lagos on its own, it's even noisy. But like outside the noise that goes on outside of us, there's actually a lot of noise in our inner mind and in our inner spirit, in our soul. I don't even know. It feels like our mind just never seems to calm down, to really be quiet. We're constantly thinking about the pressures of life, family pressure, money, how to do this, how to get that your mind literally just never shuts up. So it wasn't until I decided to do this time with God thing, that was when I got to understand how noisy our mind actually is. Because sometimes I do succeed, I do actually hear from God. Sometimes I get carried away, I forget that I'm supposed to be listening to God, and I start praying, I start telling him I need this, I need that, I start reporting people to him, this person did this to me, this person did that. And then other times I completely zone out, like I forget that I'm supposed to be connected to God. Like I just zone out from that moment and I start thinking of other things. I start thinking of, oh, I've not called my mother. I start thinking of, what will I wear tomorrow, what will I eat this night. I just start thinking of all of these thoughts. And this is not the only thing I do spiritually. Like, of course, when I wake up in the morning, I still do my morning devotion, my morning prayers, which takes me about anything from like 30 to 45 minutes. And then in the afternoon, I do a brief prayer, because I get this notification in my phone where they send me a Bible verse every day by 12 p.m. So whenever I see that, for me, it's just like a quick reminder to pray. So I do a little check-in with God. I just say, oh, thank you, hope you are still with me. Depending on the situation going on around, that prayer could take for like 5 or 10 minutes, but ideally it's supposed to be like a short prayer. So mostly we're looking at like 30 seconds. And then of course at night I say my night prayers. My night prayers are not as long or as intense as my morning prayers, but this time with God is really just 7 minutes of complete silence with God. I think that's like the best way to explain it. So sometimes when I do that, I actually do hear from God. Other times I get distracted and I zone out, like I said earlier. Now, one of these days where I was torn between that struggle of being present in the moment with God and not letting my other thoughts distract me, I hear the words clearly: the more you listen, the louder you hear. And now it did not make sense to me, because growing up, like even then in secondary school, there was nothing like listen, listener, listeners. It's either you're listening or you're not listening. It's either you're hearing when someone is talking to you or you're not hearing. Do you understand? So that sentence did not really make sense to me. But then I caught myself, because it felt like, I was now in that zone of confusion where it's like, what does this mean? Is this what I was supposed to hear? Did I hear? Where did I know? I found out that out of the small 7 minutes I have, I was already putting in like 3 minutes into that debate of, is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? So I just got a hold of myself and I was like, okay, instead of doing this, let's just accept this for what it is. God said the more you listen, the louder you hear. So we're going to take God at his word. And at that moment, I just said a little prayer. I was like, okay, Father, I'm here. I really want to hear from you. I pray that you speak to me and you give me the ability to listen and to hear from you. Now, the sequence of events that followed may be nothing to you or to anyone watching this video, but for me, it was a lot, and it's literally the reason why we are gathered here, is why we are talking about this today. But in that moment, first of all, I started to hear the sound of a baby crying. Now, in this estate or in this compound, I've never seen a child. Like, the most I've seen is a teenager, maybe like 16, 17, but a baby, I have never. Like, I had no idea we even had children in this compound. But here, I heard the sound of a baby crying. I heard a man speaking Yoruba, shouting somewhere down the street. I don't know what he was saying. I heard the sound of my AC. Now, I've been having issues with this air conditioner. Like, we've been fixing it, like, even before I traveled till I came back. And we changed this AC this year, so I don't know what the problem is. These days, everybody wants to be a Yahoo boy. Everybody wants to be a content creator. But we actually need people who can repair AC. We need people who can fix washing machine. We need all these things. But yeah, I could hear clearly the sound of the AC. And that was when I even made the connection that problem we're having with this AC is not from the inside. Because most times when the ants come, they are always inside, they're always loosening things up. The problem is not from here, the problem is from outside. But basically, that at that moment, I just could like pick out sounds that normally I wouldn't hear or normally I would not pay attention to. So in terms of this video, we're going to talk about listening from 4 different angles. One, listening in terms of like your relationship with other people, listening in your relationship with yourself, listening in your relationship with God, and listening in your creativity. So first of all, let's talk about listening in your relationship with people. The more you listen is actually about your mindset before you start listening. Now, mostly in arguments, this is particularly important in relationships. You see people listening to respond and not necessarily to understand what the other person is saying. Now, I understand that, most times we're so caught up in our own feelings or caught up in our pains that we can't necessarily see where this other person is coming from. But sometimes it's good for you to just put yourself in the other person's shoes, just to see their own perspective. I, for one, am a firm believer of the fact that when you go into a conversation with the goal or with the desire to understand, it becomes easier for you to truly understand. I would always say this: listening is the greatest form of respect, but most of us, we tend to mistake silence for listening. But true listening goes beyond words. When you're truly listening to someone, you hear beyond what they are saying. Let's say, for example, you ask your friend, oh, how are you doing? She tells you she's fine, but the flat tone of her voice, the way she sounded, just tells you, no, this girl is not fine. Or let's say, for example, your partner has been a bit distant lately and you're thinking, oh, maybe this guy doesn't want me anymore, he's not in love with me. But it could really just be he's really stressed or overwhelmed with work. Maybe this is the first time he's handling a project of this magnitude and also being in a committed relationship at the same time, so he doesn't really know how to compartmentalize. Or maybe this guy has actually moved on from you and is hanging out with Sandra in accounting department in his office, but he's telling you his work that is taking all of his time. But the more you listen, you just know how to hear beyond what is being said to you, hear what is not being said to you. You know how to connect people's body language to what they are saying. Listening just has this way of deepening your emotional awareness. It helps you respond to what people mean when they are talking to you and not just what they are saying. That's how empathy grows. The more you listen, the more you understand better, and that understanding changes everything. It softens communication. Let's say, for example, your partner comes back home from work in a foul mood. You can automatically tell the reason she's like this is because that's her boss who is mean to her at work, who is always on her case, was on duty with her, and that's why her mood is like this. So when she comes home, you already know she's not behaving like this because she hates you or because she doesn't like you. You just automatically know it's because she's had a long day at work. And even before she gets home, you now have enough sense to, oh, should I prepare dinner for her? Should I run her a bath so when she comes back she's feeling better? So when you truly understand someone, it just helps to like soften communication. It helps to resolve conflict even before it starts. Like this example I gave, even before your partner gets home, you already know, oh, that madam was at work today, so these are the things I need to put in place just to make sure the remaining hours of her day are going to be better than the way it was at work. When you truly understand someone, it teaches you compassion, it teaches you patience, it teaches you humility. All of this helps relationships feel closer, because whether you like it or not, people can tell, people know. Like I, for one, I know my friends who I feel really safe with emotionally. When I'm with them, I know I don't have to talk too much, I don't have to do too much. All I have to do is just exist, and they can literally hear beyond what I'm saying. I don't always have to tell them I'm not okay or things are not going well. They can just sense it, and they know how to respond to my needs at that time. So when you truly listen to someone, it just helps the relationship closer, and it just gives you like a deeper understanding of whatever is going on with them. Now let's talk about listening in your relationship with yourself. I would say listening to yourself is actually more difficult compared to listening to others, and I'll give you 5 reasons why. 1, your inner voice does not speak clearly. It speaks through discomfort, emotion, silence. Like when you're talking to someone else, it's external. They are talking to you in like full sentence. They are using their words. But in your own case, your fears, your needs, your expectations, the need to be okay, there are just so many voices coming at you at once. And secondly, there's a difference between who we were, who we are, and who we are becoming. And most times, all 3 voices are speaking at the same time, and you may not know who to listen to or who to trust. Now, if you are ever in that predicament, I would advise you to follow the voice of who you're becoming, because I just think that is more in line with the person you want to be in future. So it's always safer to make your decision from that angle. 3, when you listen to someone or when you're having a conversation with someone, there is distance. You get to observe, you get to empathize, you get to like make your decision calmly from a safe distance. But when you have to listen to yourself, you are entangled with every thought, every emotion, and most times it's difficult for you to differentiate between what is true, what your insecurity is telling you, what your trauma is telling you, what you grow up believing. For you to listen to yourself, you need to be still, and that stillness can be scary because you get to confront emotions you don't really understand. You get to face questions you may or may not have answer to. 5, true listening involves honesty. You have to be honest about who you are, what you want out of life, things you've outgrown, changes you need to make in your life. And this could be really difficult because you may have to let go of things you really love, and you may have to embrace things that are like unfamiliar to you or would ultimately push you to being a better version of yourself. Now, when you truly listen to yourself, you start to hear clearly. You start to hear all of those things your busyness would not allow you to hear. Things like your exhaustion, your longing, your truth. At first is uncomfortable, but that discomfort comes with self-awareness. Think about it. There are times where you've had like this gut feeling that things don't feel right, you're not happy, you feel like you're doing too much, and most times we tend to ignore that small voice until we get to that point where we completely break down or we are burnt out from the weight of our decision. But when you learn to listen to yourself, whenever you get those feelings, whenever you start feeling like things are not right, maybe I'm not really happy, do I really want this, you pay attention to it and you start to ask yourself tough questions. Why do I feel this way? Is this feeling trying to tell me something? And you just have enough time and opportunity to really sort through how you're feeling in order for you to move forward. Another thing is, when you truly listen to yourself, you get to know the difference between what feels right to you and what feels forced. You know how to differentiate between peace and boredom. You know when you're overthinking something, and you know when your intuition is actually guiding you towards the right decision. When you listen to yourself, there's also this emotional maturity that comes with it. You stop people pleasing and you start to choose growth. Instead of seeking validation from other people, you try to make sure your inner being is in alignment with what you want from life. Because when you understand your own signals, you make better decisions, you attract better energy, and there's this steadiness that comes with you. You become wiser and you become more confident in following what your heart tells you to do. Okay, so listening in your creativity. Now, creativity is not just about producing, it involves the ability to perceive. And big ideas are rooted in stillness. When you listen to your art, when you listen to life, when you listen to your emotions, your creativity deepens and you start to hear the world differently. A content idea may come from a conversation you overhear, a photo concept just from the way the light hits your wall by 4 p.m. You just look at it and all your creative juices start to flow. Even this video we're talking about, I told you the idea for this video came from something I do every day. It came from me spending time with God, and I just hear something. The more you listen, the louder you hear, and in no time I'm thinking about the impact of this sentence in 4 core pillars of my life. So when you truly listen, you create from a different place. You create from an angle of observation and not just imitation. Your content, your ideas, your work, they feel more alive because there's something behind it. You're not just creating for creating sake. There's a motivation, there's an inspiration, there is a why behind what you're creating. Now for our relationship with God, I already said it earlier, I feel like most of us, we approach God from the angle of what we can get from God, what God can do for us, that we don't really take time to really find out what God wants from us or what his plan is for us. And for me, that is why I started, this whole time with God thing. And it's something I would really encourage you to do as well. You don't have to do it for 7 minutes like me. You can choose to do 5, you can choose to do more. For me, currently I'm doing 7 minutes. It could change later on. I can even decide to stop, but it's not something I see myself stopping. It's just something that I really love to do because it gives me an opportunity to completely be quiet, to be still, and to just be in that place with God. And the thing is, you cannot hear God in the midst of chaos. You cannot hear God in the noisy environment. You have to prepare yourself. And God speaks in stillness, he speaks in peace, he speaks in moments when you least expect it. And because we're so busy with life, because our inner mind literally never shuts up, it makes it easy for us to miss it when God is talking to us. But when you take a moment to pause, when you create space for you to really listen to God, you begin to hear God even in ordinary moments. Sometimes you're in a hurry, you just feel this nudge in your spirit telling you to calm down and take your time. That is God talking to you. You just start to see God in ordinary things. You start to see God in ordinary moments. And once you do that, his presence feels very real to you. You feel his peace because you just know no matter what you're going through, even if things are good, things are bad, you know God is with you because you guys are in alignment. You've spoken to him about this thing, you've gotten confirmation from him, you know he's going to do it. You don't know how, you don't know when, but you just know deep in your heart that it's going to happen. I want to end this video by saying listening isn't passive, it's an act of transformation. It depends how you connect, how you decide, how you create. And I know the world, our soul, is constantly speaking. But when you calm down to really listen, like I said already, the more you listen, the louder you hear. And the louder you hear, the wiser you become. You just have to tell yourself, Debbie, slow down. You just need to slow down for you to really hear. I need you to ask yourself, when was the last time you really sat down to listen to your thoughts? When was the last time you had a conversation with someone, not just to reply, not just to say something back to them, but to truly understand them? So, think about these things and make decisions from them. So you guys, I'm so excited, I'm so happy. I do have a couple of more things I need to get done. I have some short form content I need to shoot, so we're just going to get that done. It's currently 1 a.m. I'm exhausted. And you guys, we never even got to talk about my hair, and I'll be taking it out really soon. Like, I'm tired, I'm over it already. I just don't like it when my hair is done because it's like I don't go out a lot. I spend most of my time at home, so I'm just carrying all this load, all this discomfort for nothing. I honestly don't like to get my hair done. I prefer to just do like my mini twist or all back, and then when I need to look cute I can wear a wig. But you know, sometimes we miss braids. I think for this I can't remember the extension, like the number, but I would write it out on the screen. I use two colors. I use XD expression attachment. The back, I think the back of the braids are a bit darker compared to the braids in front, because the lady, she didn't mix the attachments properly. I guess she just thought a certain quantity was going to be enough, and then it ended up not being enough, and we didn't have enough of the other colors. But yeah, I think I'll be taking this hair out over the weekend. Today is Thursday, so maybe by Friday or Saturday the braids will be gone. But I really did like them. You know, by the time we finished making the hair, it was quite late, so they had some issues with electricity, so the lady did not really take her time to properly trim the hair. I guess it's another reason why it got rough really quickly. But then again, I had like no plans of carrying it for long. And also my makeup looks tea, you guys. I filmed the tutorial, not really a tutorial, but you guys got to see me while I was doing my makeup. So if you want to see how this look came about, I do have new videos coming out every Wednesday and Saturday, so you want to keep an eye out for that. So you guys, thanks for watching this video to the end. I'll see you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye guys, and please subscribe to my channel, okay?